Hello, welcome to Confetti Chat. My name is James from James Douglas Films. This is Frankie from Pink Photographics. We will be talking you down the aisle and waffling about weddings. Today we're talking about speeches, and we've got our friend and colleague Ricky Locke, magician. I'm calling you a magician, but for today, you're something else.
So I'm an award-winning wedding magician, and I'm also CEO of the Confident Club. Yeah.
Excellent. So today we're chatting about speeches. In my experience, obviously, I'm married. I did a groom speech. I've been best man twice, so I've had to do that job on two separate occasions. I have daughters. At some point, I might have to do a father of the bride speech. So whenever
Can I be their photographer? I'd love that.
So whenever I'm filming weddings, that's the one I'm paying most attention to these days for hints and tips.
Yes.
Your standard three, the traditional ones: father of the bride, groom, best man. But that's a trend that seems to be dropping off. It seems like almost anyone can be asked to deliver a speech or a toast at a wedding. So where are we going with this? What advice are we giving people?
I think it's like we said earlier on before this. I think it's like one of the most exciting opportunities to have, because at a wedding, it's the one and only chance that you're probably only ever going to have a chance to say something really special. The top three fears in life is number 3 is dying, and number 1 is public speaking. So people would rather die than public speak, which is sad, really. But I think
extreme.
It's true. Yeah, but we've seen it in what we do, and I get to see it as I'm hosting weddings, that you see that the nerves and the shaking of people are absolutely just bricking it. And it's just we do this every day. We talk to everyone, but for some reason, when you give someone a microphone or you give someone that spotlight, they just kind of crumble. And I think what we can do is probably help people with the viewers by giving them some great tips, I think, to help them their speech.
What do you think? What do you think causes the fear? Is it a fear of just looking stupid? Do you think that's all it is, or is there something else happening here?
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of beliefs in play. So obviously beliefs are just lies that we tell ourselves that we've chosen to believe to be true. So people might believe I'm not a very good public speaker, and that might be that they did a presentation at school. The teacher said that they were really bad, and therefore they've kept that throughout their whole life and said, I'm just not a good presenter. But actually, it's probably not true. So I think a lot of it is that. There's some beliefs going on there. A lot of it is that there's an emotional point. I cried my eyes out in my own speech. And I think that a lot of people are just really worried about, if I'm going to be a centre of attention, I'm going to have to do something that's quite emotional. I might cry, I might look silly, and I might look stupid. Therefore, I'm not doing it.
That's what I hear a lot.
Yeah. And I think that's the case, that actually it's about looking at that reference and go, actually, why don't we just change this around and flip it around to actually this is something exciting that you can try something new. And I think a lot of it is, a lot of the time people just don't want to do it because they're worried how they might look. But actually there's tools and tips that we can give that will help them look cool.
What's your advice? What would you say? How are you going to help them out with this?
I think firstly it's to understand obviously what they want to say, because most people, this is what they do, they'll go on Google and type in how to write a wedding speech, probably the best man.
We have this conversation every single wedding, and we say, right, what are the top 3 things we hear the most? And there's the same stories and same jokes.
The cakes in tears, that one?
And you've got to keep... oh my God, you've got to keep it like a miniskirt.
Oh yes, yeah.
And we even said at the last wedding we did, we joked about that one. I was like, oh, I'm so sick of hearing about the miniskirt. Literally, best man, his first line was, we were across the room from each other, and we just looked at each other and we're like, yeah.
There it is. And there's the classic, the hand on the table, like where the best man will say to the groom, put your hand on the table.
Yeah.
Then the other hand, this is the last time you're ever going to have the upper hand. And it's all cliche, and that's the thing, I think, actually. But I think what's really important is to understand, firstly, their state of how to control how they feel. Because a lot of people are worried about how they're not going to get through it. Because firstly, people have that belief like, it's going to be 2 minutes, I'm just going to get over it because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So firstly, there's some sort of beliefs that's going on that we can help them control how they feel. So nerves, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of tools and techniques. So we'll give a free tip here to help people out. So one of the things that I recommend if I'm at a wedding or if I'm helping people when I'm hosting. So when I host, I will compare and introduce the speeches. So make it, rather than going, please give it up for the groom, I make it a little bit more fun, because sometimes the venue just passes the mic to the groom and then they go, oh, do I want to do it now?
Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. So,
Is it now?
Yeah. So one of the things I do is I try and get them to visualise a time when they felt really confident. So because I'm a magician, I'll carry elastic bands with me and I'll give them an elastic band to put on their wrist. And I say, look, if you're feeling a little bit nervous just before you do your speech, all I want you to do is to think of a time when you might have been nervous and you got through it and you were really confident. Can you think of that? And they'll go, yeah. And you see it, you see their physiology shift, they go from that to like a smile and you can see they're relaxed. I say, right, now ping that elastic band. What it does, it's a bit like electric shock therapy. So as they ping that, it's a gentle reminder that they're okay. They're fine, and it reminds them of that moment. So it's a bit like anchoring. So if you hear, if I hear "This Will Be an Everlasting Love" by Natalie Cole, that takes me back to my first dance.
Yeah.
So it's an anchor. So you might have a smell, Frankie, or like you might have, you might smell some fish and chips. Go, oh, that takes me back to being like a child or something, right? And that's what I'm doing is I'm anchoring them into a state when they felt confident. A bit like what runners do. So like. Usain Bolt, when he walks out onto the track, he's not saying, my great friend Steve McDermott told me about this. He's not going out there going, I hope I'm going to be all right today. He comes out and just goes, whoosh, whoosh, hey, I'm cool. And he starts fist bumping because he says, I've got this.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. So first it's about control how you feel, using these tools and techniques and thinking about what can you do. So sometimes at a wedding, even before I start, I might put my headphones in. So you might have seen James at a wedding fair.
Yeah.
As I'm setting a wedding fair up, I'll put my headphones in and that's just me getting into state. I'll play the song that makes me feel good and confident and that's me getting ready for it. Not going,
what song is that?
So it's by Japan Droids called The House That Heaven Built.
Oh, I have no idea.
A bit of thrash.
I'm really glad I asked that.
Yeah. It's basically just a drummer and a guitarist, like proper like punk rock sort of thing.
Oh, I wanted it to be like something really good.
Like really cheesy,
I don't know, like Girls Aloud or
Venga
something.
Boys, it's Venga Boys.
Oh
Sorry,
my God,
yes!
That's,
it will be that now.
That's true now.
Yeah,
That's
I'll change
it.
it out.
Let's start that rumour.
That's it. But yeah, that'll be the real bit now. Stick on the real preview.
Ricky listens to Venga Boys.
But yeah, it's using that and trying to get people into state first to control how they feel. So control how you feel first, get them into that state, thinking about the structure that you want to use. But one of the key things is to get people in the room. So when we use this in the Confident Club, what we run workshops, is the idea of the key thing to any presentation is the beginning and the end. What are you going to do to get people in the room? Don't just go, thanks for coming. We all know that. We all know that here, right? So what can you do to maybe grab people's attention straight away or do something that's going to catch people in? So what can you do? Maybe like a prop or something to add curiosity. So
I love speeches with props and things.
Yeah.
Love them.
So if you see like some of like the best speakers in the world or best presenters, best speeches, they start off with something that adds curiosity. Like, what's that? What's he going to be doing? And then you can go into what you need to do. So yeah, that's one of the first tips I'd say.
That's interesting. I actually think there's a kind of a weird sort of hierarchy of you really want your best man speech to be the pinnacle in my head.
And who has like the dibs on what's supposed to be said and like who's got like the nice like thank yous and the romantic, don't they look beautiful, isn't he gorgeous, that kind of thing. And then you've got to have like the oh that's so embarrassing and the like oh teary little like emotional bits. Yeah, I think that they do belong to different people, don't they? Yeah,
definitely. I think as well a great tip is to have a structure, but two structures that we've recommended before and I've coached them before is it's called the Christmas Carol structure and the 5 peak structure. So the Christmas Carol structure, if you think of like Scrooge, right?
Yep.
You have the ghost of Christmas past and
present and future.
Yeah, so
look at me.
A great thing here. Well done, yeah. So the Christmas past could be before I met my partner or my wife or my husband or whoever it might be, now and what our future looks like. So you could break your speech into 3 areas. So before I met you, I was no one, whatever. Now you make me feel like this. I'm so pleased about the life we've created. And then you could go into our future together. The second thing is like the 5 peak structure. So it could be a big attention grabber. So it could be your theme thing to grab people in the room. Your 3 things, so 3 peaks, and then you've got obviously the last thing, which is your finale. So it could be the big end thing. So it could be the theme tune to play out or something like that. So 5 peaks, big introduction, the 3 main points, and then your ending. Or you can have the Christmas Carol, which is before I met you, now, and the future.
Well, that's been amazing. Like really
I'm
interesting.
so impressed.
Yeah, that's well.
Impressed.
Yeah.
I really didn't mean to sound so surprised.
That sounded quite sarcastic, Frankie.
Sorry. I'm really impressed. You actually know your shit. Well done.